Let's talk about that a little bit because the firefighters endorsed a Republican in the past. They're endorsing a Republican for governor now, and they're endorsing you. Why do you think you can appeal to both Democrats and Republicans?
Because I want to fundamentally change who has power in this country. I have seen it. I grew up under a situation like most people in Missouri grew up under. It's really sad to think that most Missourians are paycheck to paycheck, but that's the God's honest truth. And we need to change that. We need people in Congress who understand that. And so when working people know where I come from and they see that I didn't sell out when I first got the chance, right? Like, what did Josh Hawley do when he graduated from school? He went to DC and worked in one of the fanciest corporate law firms that does lobbying in the entire country. I joined the United States Marine Corps. I did 13 years. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and then I helped with arms control negotiations out of the Pentagon for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Like, I have a lifetime of service and a background that shows I'll make decisions that take care of everyday Missourians. Josh Hawley, he doesn't understand. He's a rich banker's kid. He's never cared about Missouri. He's never brought any money to our state, and he just doesn't take care of us. And so for people in this state, we're willing to switch our votes on the ticket, right? This is one of those split ticket voter states. When Donald Trump won by 17 points in 2016, the biggest Republican victory in the state up to that point in all time, Jason Kander, another veteran like me, a veteran of Afghanistan, came within 2.7 points of winning. And so, Missourians here, we're going to vote for the guy, and it gives us a real opportunity to win. And some of these endorsements, like the firefighters, just show that I have an appeal that Josh Hawley doesn't have.
Missouri, as of right now, is a pretty red state. It has 8 congressional districts, as you know, 6 of which are represented by Republicans in the House. We have both senators as Republicans as well as a Republican governor. So, how specifically do you think within the next year and a half you will flip this seat?
Absolutely. I mean, again, Missouri has a history of switching its votes. So up until 2017, most of our statewide elected office holders were Democrats, our governor, secretary of state, kind of all down the line. We only lost our last statewide Democrat this year. She decided not to run for reelection. And so, in 2023 was when our last statewide Democrat left. We have a history of people voting for both sides. We have a history of Democrats winning statewide office in this state, even as recently as 2018. Not every state has that. We have a history of very populist, I would call them ballot measures passing. So in the last several years, our unions got together and overturned the anti-union right to work legislation that Josh Hawley supports, by the way. He's a pro right to work guy. We overturned that 68% to 32% at the ballot box. We increased the minimum wage by $5 over the federal level at the ballot box. We expanded Medicaid. We passed medical and then recreational marijuana. We've done a lot of things to take care of ourselves here in this state. We have a streak where people have been trying to take back power for themselves, take back control. Josh Hawley stands against every single one of those things, and I don't. And so what we have is a real opportunity with a true contact contrast. People who are willing to switch votes on their ticket based on the person rather than the party, and a very unpopular incumbent. I mean, Josh Hawley's underwater right now. His approval rating is lower than his disapproval rating, which for a Republican here is like, that's an achievement. And he achieved that just based on being himself. And so as long as he keeps being himself and I get out there, we're going to win this thing.
I do want to talk about your newest campaign ad that you released. I believe it was last week, narrated by Missouri native John Hamm, a famous actor. And he really laid out the points that you're making here between the differences between Josh Hawley as well as yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about the ad?
Yeah, I mean, so Josh Hawley has this book out called Manhood, where he tells everybody that to be a real man, you got to be more like him. Which is crazy ironic considering you see the guy skittering out of the back of the Capitol. But John and I both saw that and thought that we needed to push back against that. Right there is a real problem with these frauds, these fakers, these cowards, just trying to control everybody's vision of what it means to be a man, talking about a masculinity crisis, and really just trying to go after the same people that they've been betraying and destroying for generations. And so, John wanted to get out there, and I wanted to get out there and make that contrast, remind everyone that Josh Hawley uh, doesn't have any standing to talk on this issue. He doesn't care about everyday people. I mean, one of his main points here is that like women in the workplace are destroying men, right? It's crazy. It's not a zero sum game. There's room for everyone to grow and achieve in this country. And the fact that he doesn't believe that, we can't just let that out there. We can't just let him take this territory and talk about it and not answer it. So our job and our desire was to answer that hard. I mean, we want to punch this guy in the face over and over again on all of his silly BS. And so that's the first step of doing that. You know, we put out an ad on January 6th when we launched that did the same thing. And we're going to continue to do that all the way through the end of the election because the people of of Missouri deserve to know the difference between the two of us and just what a fraud the guy is.
A panel on Morning Joe on MSNBC called the ad power.